I want to go ahead and talk about this play that's been making the rounds on social media today from the Super Bowl. It's of the Kansas City Chiefs running a guard tight end counter, and everybody's talking about the fact that Nolan Smith Jr., he squeezes and blows up Trey Smith, the pulling guard on the play, back into Isaiah Pacheco. And while that's part of the play, and it's a great example of attacking, squeezing, and attacking the pulling player, a lot of people are not talking about the fact that Ojomo, number 97 for the Eagles, he makes Caliendo's block look silly, and he helps close the gap and make sure that it's a 2-yard loss for Pacheco on the counter run. So we're going to go ahead, take a look at the end zone view of the All-22 and talk about it. All right, so as I mentioned, we're just going to use the end zone view of the All-22 because that gives us the clearest picture. Here's how the blocking scheme is supposed to be on this counter play for the Chiefs. We've got a double team by Tooney and Caliendo on Ojomo, and then they're going to work up to Bond just like this. We've got a down block by Humphrey on Jalen Carter. Trey Smith, he's going to pull, and he's going to read what the end man on the line of scrimmage does. If the end man on the line of scrimmage squeezes with Tooney's down block, then it's going to be a seal block to the outside. If instead the end man on the line of scrimmage comes upfield, then it's going to be a kick out block. Noah Gray, who is following behind as the second puller, he's going to make his read off of Trey Smith's block. If it's a seal, then Noah Gray would go to the outside. If it's a kick out block, then he is going to lead up the hole. We're going to get a kick-out block because Nolan makes sure that it's going to be a kick-out block, basically. Jawan Taylor, he's going to slide down to his left and then open back out to his right and fan out to make sure that no one can chase from the backside like Graham can on Pacheco running. Pacheco's going to take his counter step, and then he is supposed to follow Gray. Wherever Gray goes, he's going to follow because that's who's going to be basically the lead blocker for him on this play. We've got Smith-Schuster coming around in motion. Mahomes is going to act like he's handing the ball off. He's going to do a handoff fake to Smith-Schuster and then spin around and hand it to Pacheco on this play. Nolan has probably been taught to squeeze and attack the pulling player on this anytime he sees a down block. There's two different techniques that are taught to defensive players when it comes to taking on pulling offensive linemen, or maybe a tight end who's running a wham block, maybe a back who's coming across. Basically, there's two different ways, and the first is what Nolan Smith does. You can squeeze down, and really you want to stay square, but you're going to squeeze down, try and close the gap down, and attack that pulling player. You might give him a forearm shiver. You're just trying to not be moved, and by closing down, you're going to make sure that that gap's not big enough for the back to get through, so the back would have to bounce out either to you or to a teammate. So that's the first one. The second one is the wrong arm technique, where you can still come down, and instead of squeezing and giving that forearm shiver like I was showing, staying square, you're going to come up and you're going to wrong arm. So basically you're going to swim underneath and you're going to do what's called the wrong arm. And we call it wrong arm because you're not keeping outside leverage with your outside arm. You're now attacking, blowing it up, coming underneath the pulling player, right, to be in the hole. So now either the back has to bounce out to a teammate or you make the tackle. So those are the two techniques that are usually taught to players defensively to take on these kinds of blocks. And I'm just going to run the play so you can see exactly what it is that I mean. It looks like Nolan Smith was taught, attack that pulling player, and that's exactly what he does. As we run this play, you're going to see just the violence of that hit. It knocks Trey Smith's head back. And he's like visibly, like stunned as the play goes on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back just a little bit more. Here's the thing. Everybody's talking about this because it's such an aggressive blow up of a pulling player, and it's great. It's a great job by Nolan Smith. The thing about it is the block is still technically being made. Notice who's making the tackle here. It's Ojomo. Ojomo, number 97, is the one that's making the tackle because he's able to quickly shed Caliendo's block. Caliendo is unable to make this block. If the block is made, Pacheco still could hit up inside potentially and get some yards. But instead, and let me go back again just so you guys can see, Ojomo knows how quickly he's able to shed the block of Caliendo, cut up inside, and then get back to the outside, basically, behind Gray, and cut off Pacheco. So because of the fact that Nolan attacked Trey Smith to really kind of blow him back, even though, the block is kind of made, even though, Trey Smith's head snaps back, because Ojomo's able to come underneath and then work his way back to the outside, that gap gets really compressed, and that's why it ends up being a 2-yard loss for Pacheco on the play. And this really kind of is an example of the entire Super Bowl yesterday. The Eagles defensive line dominated the Chiefs offensive line. The Eagles defensive line, the fact that they could get pressure with just 4 players was it's just a magnificent game on building the trenches. The Chiefs, I think, only ran the ball about 11 times, really. There was no run game. And when you don't have a run game, then you know, hey, we can just tee off to stop the passing game. And I know that the Chiefs were passing a lot more late, but as the game went along, this kind of set the tone of, hey, they can't run the ball, so let's go ahead and just tee off to stop the pass. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below about this video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe as we do more breakdowns. We'll see you next time, though. Have a good one. I do want to recognize the members of this channel at the booster level and above for their support. If you wish to have your name in a video just like this, make sure to check out the join link in the description below. Here on the end screen, you can see that there's another recommended video. Make sure to click that and watch it. Also, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future breakdown videos. I hope you have a great rest of the day.